Profiteering middlemen are the largest barrier to raising farmers' income in the USA and across the globe. A large portion of the earnings from farmers' produce is taken by commission agents, traders, and wholesalers. The farmers are left with very little. Stay tuned to find out why the middlemen are ruining farmers' profits and how potato farmers in the USA specifically are greatly missing out. How middlemen can ruin farming profits. Maybe there's nothing new under the sun after all. Farmers have known for years that there must be a method to capture more of the consumer dollar for the farm, given the huge disparity between what they're paid for their crops and livestock and what customers spend in the grocery store. No one believes it will be simple. Is it possible? Is the more pressing question. Or is it realistic for me to take out those middlemen and sell directly to consumers? The middleman has for decades been viewed as a disadvantage to farmers, and with the current climate of the globe and the economy, this opinion is more rampant than ever. And while it is true, we must state that there are both benefits and disadvantages to middlemen. There are definitely situations where they are essential. We thought it was only right to highlight some of the disadvantages and benefits of the middleman so you can see both sides. Disadvantages of the middleman. Middlemen's disadvantages. Despite the numerous benefits that middlemen can provide, some individuals believe that they cause more harm than good and that they should be eliminated. Many will argue that middlemen should be removed from the distribution chain because of the additional costs associated with their employment, as well as how prices might rise even higher for farmers when a middleman is involved. And the main question has stood for decades: are middlemen necessary? Cost or distribution? In the farming industry, it is usual for middlemen to raise the cost of the product, which is reflected in the selling price. Because of the involvement of middlemen in the market, the cost of distribution rises. The consumer is ultimately responsible for the total burden. This is clearly not ideal, and it costs the farmers far more than if they had performed all the operations themselves. Imagine being a farmer and having to hand up a large portion of your hard-earned money to someone who has clearly not worked as hard as you have, or so many people believe. Black marketing and expired products. The widespread practice of middlemen turning to black marketing and stockpiling in order to create an artificial demand for the product is the second drawback on the list. As a result, prices rise. Once again, the customer is the only one who suffers. Furthermore, middlemen will frequently sell or buy outdated items, which are pushed on buyers by some shops after the expiration date is passed. They take advantage of the purchaser's ignorance. They're hard to trust sometimes and can have poor service. The middleman, as a link between the production and the consumer, is expected to be loyal to both. He must communicate the consumer's recommendations and complaints to the producers, as well as any valuable information communicated by the producers to the consumers. Few middlemen carry out their responsibilities with fidelity. Furthermore, it's normal to encounter and work with intermediaries that provide poor service. In the case of durable goods, certain dealers' attitudes annoy buyers, particularly when after-sale service is necessary. Some dealers do not provide the politeness that was previously offered at the time of sale. Benefits of middlemen. So we've spoken about the downsides, and there are many of the middleman, but what are the benefits? Obviously, there are various benefits of having a middleman, and if you are a farmer can comfortably afford one, then of course it makes life a whole lot easier than trying to do everything on your own. Keep watching for some of the benefits of middlemen in the agricultural industry. They know what they're doing. As much as farmers and people hate the middlemen, they definitely know what they're doing, for the most part, and know a lot more than the average farmer who has more than likely spent the majority of their lives out on the farm, not behind a computer screen. It is a lot of work to take on if you want to cut out the middleman. It's definitely possible, but it means your workload, which is probably already crazy, will increase a lot more. Despite all the negatives, at least when working with a middleman, you know all your bases are covered in that department. Networking. Without a middleman, it would be hard to network and find those connections in the agricultural industry. Middlemen also double as networkers who are always negotiating and conversing with suppliers and important people in the supply chain. When you take out the middleman, you would need to pick up the slack and be responsible for making these connections as well as getting all the farm work completed. However, if If you can manage all this, you will definitely see your income rise, as all these costs for the middleman would completely disappear. What exactly are middlemen and why farmers have become dependent on them? In a distribution or transaction chain, a middleman acts as an intermediary, facilitating communication between the parties involved. Middlemen are experts at completing critical functions in the purchase and selling of goods as they move from manufacturers to final buyers. They usually don't make anything but have a lot of market expertise. Therefore, they charge a commission or a fee for their service. Wholesalers and merchants, for example, buy and resell their products, take ownership of inventories, and are responsible for the cost of storage and distribution. They gain money by selling the things for more than they paid for them. The distinction is referred to as markup. A shopkeeper is a major multinational firm with international activities are all examples of merchant middlemen. Larger middlemen may specialize on a specific market area or main skill, such as delivery, advertising, or storage. Agents, on the other hand, specialize in transactional negotiations. They don't accept responsibility for what they're selling. Instead, they profit by collecting a charge or commission for facilitating a transaction. When it comes to farmers' intermediaries, they can now be both agents and merchants. The majority of intermediaries serve in both capacities. Farmers still rely heavily on middlemen for credit, which is related to their sales to the middlemen. Despite the existence of options such as Bank Prytanian and other lending companies, this relationship has lasted for decades and continues to function today. Farmers' marketing tasks are also performed by middlemen, who buy produce from producers and either sell it to wholesalers or process it. In times of financial distress, first-level intermediaries also serve as last resort financiers to farmers, supplying funding for things like children's schooling and social activities like weddings. This credit is in addition to the production credit used to purchase fertilizers, machinery, chemicals, and other items. This unsecured financing requires no collateral, no paperwork, and can be used at any moment. The financing service is extremely adaptable and adapted to the farmer's economic and social needs. In short, middlemen serve the marketing creditor functions for producers, which they have done for decades. As much as farmers would like to say that the middleman is all bad, they definitely help farmers who are lacking in the marketing, tech, media side of things, which most are. Why USA potato farmers are struggling. For potato producers, the COVID-19 outbreak and subsequent shutdowns were a nightmare due to a number of circumstances. Many growers were planting this year's crop when restaurants closed in the middle of March and early April. However, processors who normally supply frozen French fries to restaurants, stadiums, and schools were unable to find clients. People choose to stay at home and load up on food. Fresh potatoes were hard to come by in some supermarkets in April, and market prices hit an all-time high in July. Processors panicked when it came to larger processed potatoes. They were now unable to move potatoes that they had purchased on contract. Farmers were also growing potatoes, which would require crucial shed storage space, which could not be available come harvest. As a result, processors performed two tasks. They informed growers that they would be unable to execute this year's contract for crops that had already been planted in certain cases, and they began returning extra potatoes from the previous harvest to farmers. As you can imagine, this was a scary time for potato farmers, and things still haven't quite returned to normal for those harvesting crops. While the demand has definitely increased, it's not back to normal yet, and then when you add in the middleman, farmers really have been losing out, especially these past few years. And there you have it, everything you need to know about the middlemen can significantly impact a farmer's earnings and overall profit. They definitely take a sizable chunk of a farmer's income, but it could be argued that it is by many that middlemen are essential for a vast majority of farmers who would have no idea how to source, sell, or market their business. While many farmers do not view middlemen as necessary and more as a drain on their bank account, don't underestimate the middleman just yet. But make sure to let us know your thoughts down below. Did you know about middlemen in agriculture and how they are perceived? Do you think they're necessary? Let us know. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss any of our new and upcoming content. Thanks for watching.